"Thy daughter is dead," they told Yair. "Why troublest thou the teacher any more?" But taking the child by the hand, Yeshua saith to her, "Talitha qumi," which is being interpreted, "Damsel, to thee I am saying, be thou arising." And immediately the damsel rose up and walked, for she was 12 years old, and they were amazed immediately with a great amazement. And he charged them much, that no man should know this, and he commanded that something should be given her to eat. Mark chapter 6. And he went out from thence, and he cometh into his fatherland, and his disciples follow him. And when the Shabbath was come, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many hearing him were astonished, saying, Whence hath this man these things? And what is the wisdom that is given to this man? And what mean such mighty works wrought by his hands? Is not this the carpenter, the son of Maria, and brother of Jacob, and Joses, and Jehuda, and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us? And they were being stumbled by means of him. And Yeshua said to them, A prophet is not without honor, except in his fatherland, and among his kin, and in his house. And he could there do no mighty work, except that he laid his hands upon a few sick folk and healed them. And he was being amazed because of their unbelief, and he went round about the villages teaching. And he called to him the 12, and began to send them forth by 2 and 2. And he gave them authority over the unclean spirits. And he charged them that they should take nothing for their journey, except a staff only, no bread, no wallet, not even copper in the belt, but having been shod with sandals. And, said he, ye should not clothe yourselves in 2 coats. And he said to them, Wheresoever ye enter into a house, there abide till ye depart thence. And whatsoever place shall not receive you, and they hear you not, as ye go forth thence, shake off the dust that is under your feet, for a testimony to them. And they, having gone out, preached so that people should be repenting. And they were casting out many demons, and they were anointing with oil many sick ones, and they were healing them. And King Herodes heard thereof, for his name had become known, and they were saying, Johanan the Baptizer hath been raised out of dead ones, and therefore do these powers work in him. But others were saying, It is Eliah, and others were saying, It is a prophet, even as one of the prophets. But Herodes, when he heard thereof, was saying, Johanan, whom I beheaded, this one was risen. For Herodes himself had sent forth and laid hold upon Johanan, and bound him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's woman, for he had married her. For Johanan said to Herodes, It is not lawful for thee to have thy brother's woman. And Herodias set herself against him, and desired to kill him, but she could not. For Herodes feared Johanan, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and kept him safe. And when he heard him, he was much perplexed, and he heard him gladly. And a convenient day having become, when Heroides on his birthday made a supper to his great men, and the 1,000 rulers, and the chief men of the Galilee, and the daughter of Herodias herself having come in and having danced, she pleased Heroides and those reclining together to eat. And the king said to the damsel, Ask of me whatsoever thou wilt, and I will give it thee. And he swore an oath to her, Whatsoever thou shalt ask of me, I will give it thee, to the half of my kingdom. And she went out, and said to her mother, What shall I ask? And she said, The head of your Hanan the baptizer. And she came in immediately with haste to the king, and asked, saying, I will that thou immediately give me on a platter the head of your Hanan the baptizer. And the king was exceeding sorry, but for the sake of his oaths and those reclining to eat, he would not reject her. And immediately the king sent forth a soldier of his guard, and commanded to bring his head. And he went and beheaded him in the prison, and brought his head on a platter, and gave it to the damsel, and the damsel gave it to her mother. And when his disciples heard thereof, they came and took up his corpse, and laid it in a tomb. And the sent ones gathered themselves together to Yeshua, and they told him all things whatsoever they had done, and whatsoever they had taught. And he saith to them, Come ye yourselves apart into a desert place, and rest a while. For there were many coming and going, and they had no leisure so much as to eat. And they went away in the boat to a desert place apart. And the people saw them going, and many knew them, and they ran together there by foot from all the cities, and outwent them. And he came forth, and saw a great multitude, and he had compassion on them, because they were as sheep not having a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. And when the day was now far spent, his disciples came to him, and said, The place is desert, and the day is now far spent. Send them away, that they may go into the country and villages round about, and buy themselves somewhat to eat. But he answered and said to them, Give ye them to eat. And they say to him, Shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread, and give them to eat? And he saith to them, How many loaves have ye? Be ye going, see ye. And when they knew, they said, 5, and 2 fishes. And he commanded them that all should recline, companies, upon the green grass. And they sat down in ranks, by hundreds and by 50s. And he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up into the sky, he blessed, and broke the loaves, and he gave to the disciples to set before them. And the 2 fishes divided he among them all. And they all ate, and were filled. And they took up broken pieces, 12 basketfuls, and also of the fishes. And they that ate the loaves were 5,000 men. And immediately he constrained his disciples to enter into the boat, and to go before him to the other side, to Bethsaida, while he is dismissing the multitude. And after he had taken leave of them, he departed into the mountain to pray. And when even was come, the boat was in the midst of the sea, and he alone on the land. And seeing them distressed in the rowing, for the wind was contrary to them, about the 4th watch of the night he cometh to them walking on the sea, and he would have passed by them. But they, when they saw him walking on the sea, supposed that it was an apparition, and cried out, for they all saw him, and were troubled. But he immediately spoke with them, and saith to them, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And he went up to them into the boat, and the wind ceased, and they were sore amazed in themselves. For they understood not concerning the loaves, but their heart was being a thing having become hardened. And when they had crossed over, they came to the land to Gennesareth, and moored to the shore. And when they were come out of the boat, immediately the people knew him, and ran round about that whole region, and began to carry about on their beds those that were sick, where they heard he was. And wheresoever he entered, into villages or into cities or into the country, they laid the sick in the marketplaces, and besought him that they might touch, if it were but the fringe of his garment. And as many as touched him were being made whole. And they are gathered together to him the Parishaya, and certain of the scribes, having come from Hierosolymon, and having seen some of his disciples that they are eating their bread with profane, that is, unwashed hands. For the Parishaya and all the Yehudim, except they wash their hands diligently, eat not, holding the tradition of the elders. And when they come from the marketplace, except they wash themselves, they eat not. And many other things there are, which they have received to hold, washing of cups, and pots, and copper things. And the Parishaya and the scribes ask him, Why walk not thy disciples according to the tradition of the elders, but eat their bread with profane hands?